TOA Fit Body Forever and Fit Body Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Linkul with trainingtheolderadult.com. I hope you're all doing great. I want to talk to you about this new article just came out from Silver Sneakers, 5 exercises that will strengthen your back. All right, this is from Abby Lerner. Say goodbye to back pain with these simple moves that target your core, your glutes, and your hamstrings. Before we get into this, I think there's a little bit of a misconception when someone discusses a weak core. Okay, let's discuss that real quick. What does it mean to have an extremely shiny forehead? Geez, what does it mean to have? I need better lighting. I'm going to blind everybody. Sorry, guys. I'll just do this the whole time. What does it mean to have a weak core? Does that mean that like you can do 100 sit-ups, so I have a strong core, or I can't do 100 sit-ups, or I can't just sit straight up off the floor? What does it mean to have a weak core? I've had clients, one client in particular, that came up to me and she goes, I really think I need to get my core stronger. And I said, you really think that? And she goes, yeah, I think I'm pretty weak. I can't do a whole lot of sit-ups. And I went, Lori, you can deadlift like 275. You really think your core is weak? And she goes, yeah, I mean, I can't do a whole lot of like sit-up work. And I'm like, that's not the barometer for what we would discuss as your core being weak. Your core, number one, your trunk, your abdominal area, is not designed to just do abdominal flexion from the supine position, laying on your back with your face up, right, towards the ceiling, over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, it can do it, but that's not what it's designed to do. It's designed to hold you upright and manipulate your body like a little spinning top, like a cylinder, if you will. Kind of keep you in that upright position and help you balance by manipulating musculature with whatever load you're going to counter, carry, lift, push, pull, etc. It's like, I used this analogy the other day, but it's like Tom Cruise in the first Mission Impossible movie where he's like suspended, right, from the rope, and he's kind of doing the balance thing to make sure he doesn't touch the floor. That's your core. Your core is all of that work. Like his core is just super on in that moment. But what's it doing? It's holding him in a good postured position, to be honest, right? Even though he's suspended, like he's not crunching, he's not doing sit-ups, he's not doing a Turkish get-up, he's not doing any of that. So maybe that's another barometer. How much can I get up and down off the floor with? No, that's coordination and stability and balance and overall body strength, because if your core is super strong but your legs are weak, you're not gonna be able to get up. So anyhow, let's keep in mind here that when we talk about having a strong core, the stronger your core is, the better your back will be. Really what we should be saying here is the stronger your supporting musculature is in your posture to make sure your back doesn't have to do all the work. So are my glutes strong enough? Are my hamstrings strong enough? Are my hip flexors strong enough? And also the musculatures in my lower back, middle back, upper back, etc. The erectors of your spine, your quadratus liberum, your lats, your abs, and etc. Okay? You have all these musculatures that are helping your trunk and your core be in a good position to manipulate whatever it is you want to do. That's ultimately going to keep you from abusing your back, because if the core is strong, the back will be supported and have assistance. Follow me on that? Okay. All right, let's get into it. Okay, starts off here by talking about doctors, best support system, consistent muscle groups, core, glute, hamstrings, all important on their own, but link up to help control total body strength, stability, function, pressure, etc. Take pressure off the spine. Totally agree up to that point. I think we hit that one already. The whole goal is to have and prevent lower back pain. Okay, you can pick 3 or 4 exercises to add to your normal strength training workout and do all sets of all 5 exercises in order, and a warm-up ahead of your cardio workout, something along those lines. They're just kind of implementing, giving you strategy on how you can put these together. As always, safety is key. Get your doctor's okay before going into a new exercise program. Okay, that's all good. And consider other things if you have osteoporosis, arthritis, as they put on here. Just make sure you're being smart moving in. All right. Number 1, pelvic tilts. If me personally, with 2 herniated discs, surgeries, degenerative disc, arthritis, etc. in my back. If I stand and do pelvic tilts where I'm pulling my tailbone under me, butt winking, I can do 3 of them, my back will go out like that. Okay? With any of these, everyone's back and everyone's back injuries are going to be very different. So for some might go, if I don't do pelvic tilts every day, my back's going to hurt me. Where I might look at this and go, if I do back tilts every day or pelvic tilts every day, my back's going to hurt me, right? Everyone's different. Everybody's got different variations of what they can and cannot tolerate. So just because this article says, oh, these are the 5, right? These are the 5 that are going to fix you. Keep in mind that they may not. Okay, some of these may aggravate, it may hurt you. It's not that this is a bad exercise, it's just it's not the right one for you. So keep that top of mind awareness as you're going through. If you're doing some of these and you feel them and you go, that feels nice, and then later on, because lower back pain typically is very residual, you may have a moment where you're like, ooh, that didn't feel good, okay, or that was a little tweaky, and then you're like, but I'm okay. And then you keep going, and a couple of hours later, your back starts getting tight, and then a couple hours later, it really starts to hurt, and then a couple hours later, you're totally screwed. And you're stuck on the couch, and you're breaking out the ice packs and the hot packs and all that other stuff. That's residual pain. You did something earlier in the moment, but it takes a little while for everything to swell up and all the effects. And then there are other back injuries where the moment you do it, there's the second and you're frozen, you're stuck, and you're stuck in that hinge. I've hurt myself. And you have to waddle over to the couch and every little movement is painful. That is typically acute, a short-term back issue that has to process and go through. You have to just relax everything, and that's typically where a muscle relaxer or something along those lines would be, introduced, some type of medication or something like that to help you. Point being is you're going to have different reactions, but you need to pay attention. Do I feel anything right now? And over the next, let's call it 3 to 6 hours, pay attention to that too. And maybe practicing 1 of these or 2 of these a day and going through them all would be a good practice. That way, if you do all 5 of them today and then your back hurts tomorrow, who's to say which one of these did it? But if we just do the pelvic tilts, standing, and then we do bridges, and you're like, well, I do bridges often, but then your back hurts, you go, oh, the pelvic tilt. Obviously, the pelvic tilt is what got me, okay? So let's keep that in mind too. All right, so you're standing, withdrawing your abdomen, pulling your tailbone underneath you, and then returning. There's a pliability goal here where you're trying to increase your pelvic tilt from anterior to posterior, your ability to manipulate your hips forward and back. The more pliable, the more flexible you are, you would think the better off I'm going to be. I personally am a believer, and this could be, this is up for debate, because you'll talk to some people that are big on yoga and flexibility training and such, and they may disagree. But I look at this anatomically, and I look at the vertebrae of the lumbar, your lower back. They are thick, they are fat, they are stacked, and they are designed to have weight pushed down on them, but they do not pivot well at all. That pivoting, that rotation is actually what kind of damages them. But then if you go up into the cervical spine, my neck, they're really, really flat and they're saucery and they pivot really well with each other and they're designed to rotate. That's exactly what they're designed to do. But you'll talk to some people and they'll go, well, all your vertebrae are designed to be stacked and all your vertebrae are designed to rotate. And I'm like, well, then why don't they all look exactly the same then? Why would the ones in my lower back be thicker and fatter and much more bone density and then not rotate as well? But then the other ones that are at the top pivot super, super well, and they're easy to manipulate and move and they don't hurt at all. So I would say I really strongly disagree with that. I think your vertebrae all look different because they're all responsible for different things. So with that in mind, when we're moving our pelvis, is it easy to just move your iliacus, your pubis? Like, is it easy to just move the pieces of your pelvis, right, and tilt under and not manipulate your lumbar or your back at all? Or do those two things kind of come hand in hand? It's really difficult to just just move your pelvis and not aggravate your lumbar or move anything in your lumbar at the same time. Mind you, if you're gonna move your pelvis, you have to activate muscles that originate off your lumbar, right? So the lumbar doesn't move and you activate those muscles and pull the pelvis, you're probably hyper aware of your mobility, which is good. But the second you do one of those things wrong, or we go a little bit too far range of motion, you're gonna start to aggravate some things here. So I'm not a huge fan of doing this standing because you have vertical compression, gravity pulling down on your spine. And if you get slightly out of alignment, all the body weight pressure that you have sitting on your lower back could create a worse opportunity for you than better. So that's where I think how did I get these pictures out of order? The pelvic tilt while on the floor, I think, is really the way to go with this. And I think that's probably the better opportunity for you to keep your back relatively calm and just manipulate your pelvis if this is one that you have to do. In my professional opinion, don't do pelvic tilts. I don't think there's a great value in this one. But if you want to try it and work on these positions and see if it creates something for you, the intention is that you're going to create better mobility in your lumbar and your pelvis. But again, I don't believe that you're supposed to have good mobility in your lumbar, okay? In your pelvis, maybe, but I also think your legs are appendages off of your pelvis that are designed to do that mobility work for you. You want your hips to be pliable, of course, because that's where all your hingeability goes in there. But I don't know if the pelvic tilting position is all that important specifically for this. But when we bridge, what does the pelvis do? The bridge, and that's number 3 here. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. So here's number 3, the glute bridge. And this is the part where I'm like, yes on glute bridge, no on the roll down. I think the roll down is the worst part of this for you, okay? You're, again, taking vertebrae that have this lordotic curve, this lumbar lordotic curve, and then you're forcing them to go the opposite direction, right? Something that has this natural arch in it like that. Now you're saying, hey, let's bridge up, and then I need you to go the opposite direction and roll all that back down, and then bridge up, and then go the opposite direction and roll back down. I think that's going to create more issue than help, because you've got nerves, and especially your sciatic nerve, that runs through a little foramen in your pelvis, and it runs down your legs, and every time you're just tilting that back and forth. So that nerve that goes through the center, you're just giving it this opportunity to just manipulate back and forth and back and forth, like almost asking for a problem with this. So bridges, I think, are a great idea. I think the stronger you get your glutes, especially your abductors, glutes 2 and 3, all 3 glutes do abduction, but your glute max is really big on extension, and then your medius and minimus, glutes 2 and 3, they do extension, but also external rotation and abduction fairly heavily. The stronger you get those two, the better. The more your hips are going to feel strong and stabilized. So if you put a band above your knees while you're doing the bridge, you're going to recruit extra glute, extra abduction work. So I think regular bridges, definitely the way to go. I would nix the roll down, in my opinion. Number 4, we got all these out of order, is the cat-cow. I like to do cat, that's the one where we pull up, yeah, cat back to neutral. Cat back to neutral. I'm not a huge fan of cow. And the reason for that is the majority of the people I work with are older populations. So let's just say people over 50. And if you don't have good mobility in your neck, in your shoulders, in your thoracic spine, in your hips, in your pelvis, etc., and then you get into a cat-cow position and you arch, up, round up into the cat position, and you're like, well, that feels nice. And then when you go down into the cow position, overarching your back, lifting your head and neck up, like, you can overdo that to a certain extent that would cause way more harm than good. So I would start neutral, go up to cat position, pull your belly button up, try to round over as much as you can, which is fine to round over in this position because you're supported and it's kind of anti-gravity. I understand gravity is always on, but we're not, 5'10" vertical tall. We're 2 feet, 1.5 feet off the ground of actual pressure, and it's not vertical, right? It's sheer. It's going through your vertebrae across this way versus you stacked when them all straight up and down. So it's going to be a lot softer, a lot less pressure on your back to do this. So you can cat up, go back to neutral, cat up, go back to neutral, and do that for a couple of weeks. And then you can start to kind of cow and start to work that pliability. So I'm not saying the cow position is bad, just in the beginning, especially if you're new to this, I wouldn't overdo that. I wouldn't overarch, over pull your head and your neck up. Like just kind of go neutral and then get the benefit of the rounding and the pulling, the hollowing out, and then back to neutral again, okay? I think that's a good way to go. All right, number 2, there we go. Modified bird dog. Love bird dogs. I love bird dogs. And I wanted to make key of this. You notice even in the picture, I kind of zoomed out a little bit to make sure we could see her legs when we do this. We call it a modified bird dog, or in-house, we call it a 4-point bird dog as opposed to a 6-point bird dog. If you're down on all fours doing your, this here would be a 6-point position, even though, see how her toes are pointed away from her? The toes are not active. So technically, I would cue this as you're in a 4-point position on the ground, okay? But the way we want people to be on the floor is we want her toes pulled under and tucked in. So her toes are like a sprinter, right? Like her toes are dug into the floor like she's doing lunges. And that way her feet can grip into the ground. So that's 2 points of contact. And then her knees, 2 points of contact. And then her hands, 2 points. So there's your 6 points of contact. And then from there, if someone can't be on their knees, well, then they can go to the standing position. Now you're in a 4-point contact, both feet, both hands. Now you're gonna go from both feet, both hands. You're gonna raise one leg, right leg, and lift up your left arm, opposite, kind of like a contralateral position, right? That'll help you balance. And you're gonna reach as long as you can. Now, once again, check out her foot on the back there. See how it's kind of pointing away? We want to dorsiflex. That means pull your toe up towards you and kick that heel back as far as we can. So the hamstring is what's lifting the leg up. And that's gonna really encourage the hamstring to do the work and the glute to do the work. Rather than pointing the toe down, it just puts them on slack a little bit. It doesn't give them as much of a kind of a counter pulley tautness, if you will. If you pull your toe up and dorsiflex, your calves get tight, your hamstrings get tight, your glutes get tight. That kinetic chain, tick, 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 they all just stack, 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 stack. The chain gets pulled taut all the way around the backside of the body, all the way up the erectors. Cross-sectional erectors, lower right back to upper left back, and then down your arm. So now the rhomboids and the posterior delt and all that are active when you reach the arm out. And as you reach your arm, you could do a little thumbs up, reach, right, knuckles to the wall, heel to the wall, and you're just separating, stretching as far as you can, as long as you can. We're not worried about height. I don't want to be in a U shape. I want to be just as tall, capital T kind of position as I can be. And then I'll bring them both down together, and then we'll switch. If you have any balance issues when doing this, lift your leg up first, get it in position, then lift your arm up in front of you. And that variation, the leg is heavier than the arm. So if you can balance your leg, lifting your arm up is rather easy. But if you try lifting both up and you keep kind of falling off balance or you're not feeling real stable, do your leg first and then do your arm. So I think that's awesome. Okay, again, you're doing 10 to 20 of those, opposite, 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 etc. as we go. And then brings us to number 5. The seated hamstring stretch. I like it. I think it's a good stretch to do. I think seated probably encourages you to round your back when you go forward, which when we're standing, just like any other drill, your posture of your torso will then dictate how much work your back has to do. If I round my spine over, what's responsible right now when I'm slouched like this? What's responsible right now for holding me upright? The erectors of my back, my QL, quadratus laborum, my lats are even assisting in that. All the muscles on the back side. But if I sit up here straight and tall, what's up? Well, now my abs, my obliques are helping on the front while those same muscles are on the back, but they're not exposed and round over. We're cylindered, right? We're even cylindered. So I want to stay in an even cylinder position, but you can even see as she's getting this hamstring stretch, look at her back. She's starting to round and kind of curve over. So if you're gonna do the seated, you sit up really tall and then you hinge forward proper like a ballerina, right? You wanna keep that, what we call a proper position, meaning you're not rounding out of posture. Because number one, you're not supported with your upper back. If you had your hands on something, right? There was another bench or a bar in front of her she could hold on to. While she went forward, then her back wouldn't take as much pressure because her hands are help support. So I don't wanna round my back ever unless my hands are supporting me or I have a 3rd point or a 4th point of contact to assist me with that. So In this stretch as well, the left leg, that straight leg, I mean, she's almost hypermobile here in her knee, meaning her knee is locked. It should be a little soft, a tiny little bend just to protect the knee so she doesn't hyperextend her knee. I would rather do this exact same movement, but just do it standing. So you prop one foot out in front of you, you lift your chest up, you hinge over, feel your hamstring stretch, and then return back upright. And collectively speaking, I think this article covers some pretty good stretches, some pretty good mobilities for us to go through. Not huge on the pelvic tilt. Okay, I'd just be super, super careful. If you are going to do it, I would encourage you to do it, from the supine bridge position here. But again, not with the roll downs. I don't find that to be of huge value for you. Be careful of that. I do like the cat back to neutral position. I think that's good. Glute bridges, fantastic. Again, just bring everything up, bring everything down. Think of yourself like a wheelbarrow. Everything tilts up, everything tilts down. That's just pure glute work. You don't have to roll your body back down into position. If you can do 6-point bird dogs, meaning you can get on the ground, I think that's going to be of even greater value for you than standing. And I guess I shouldn't say that, because the standing one does give you a greater hamstring stretch on the leg that you're standing on. So there's pretty good value to that as well. I wouldn't say one's better than the other by any means. I think it's good value to have you practice getting down and up from the floor. So that would probably be good if you can get down and do a 6-point bird dog on the regular. You balance on one knee where you lift your leg and your arm. Same thing, just down on your hands and knees, right? Toes engaged. I think that could really deliver some good value too, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing a couple of sets or a day of standing and one day down on your hands and knees. I think there could be great value to that. So that all sounds good to me. And then this last one, and another thing, the 30-second hold. Let's have a quick discussion on static stretching. There is extremely good evidence to suggest that static stretching does absolutely nothing for you. Literally nothing for you. I shouldn't say that. It allows for a good cognitive peaceful moment where you feel a mind, muscle, and body connection. But is it making you more flexible? Absolutely not. It is not. This has been proven. This is not improving your flexibility. It gives you a moment of peace. It gives you a moment to either cool down or assist your body in warming up. It does help loosen a muscle up, but does it increase flexibility? It does not. The only way to truly increase pure muscle flexibility is through continuous motion in great ranges of motion. So you would hinge forward, stretch your hamstring, return. Hinge forward, stretch your hamstring, return. And slowly, by doing that over and over and over again, your hamstrings slowly start to let out. The actin and myosin binding sites that are so tight are letting out and letting out and letting out and letting out. That's why if you practice doing the splits over and over and over and over again, eventually you get a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more. But just sitting there, I actually did this once. I had one of those little machines where it's a 2x4 in the middle and there's two 2x4s on hinges on the other side. And you put one against each ankle and you pull the one in the middle and it spreads your legs out into the wider splits, like very Jean-Claude Van Damme kickboxer era, where you're forcing your legs wider in the splits. I got them as wide as I could and I sat there for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then when I got done, I could barely move my legs back together. I had stretched my fibers so far that when I let go and I reduced the pressure, allowing them to come back was painful. My adductors hurt for weeks on end. Like I tore those fibers by holding them there for so long. This is not a good tear. This was a damaging tear. So had I pulled on it, stretched, and then returned, and then pulled on it again, stretched, and returned, and did that over and over and over again, I think I would have seen a greater increase in range of motion, but I wouldn't have had those long damaging holds long periods of time. Now, granted, you're like, well, this says 30 seconds. You just did 3 minutes. Of course, you overdid it. My point is anything over about 3 seconds is now considered static. So 3 seconds, come back up. Go back down, 2, 3 seconds, come back up. And doing this over and over again. Now, if we add load to the situation, even better, okay? So you're doing that standing hinge like we talked about. You hold a kettlebell, and the weight now is pulling you into a deeper hinge and return. That weight now, your fibers are going, whoa, there's more weight. We really need to let out, but we're going to get stronger when we go through. So now you get stronger while increasing range of motion. That's why weightlifters, Olympic weightlifters, are so damn flexible, because they move a good deal of weight through these great ranges of motion. Okay? So that's how you get more flexible, moving through greater ranges of motion. What does static stretching do for you? Not a whole lot, other than maybe give you some peace of mind. But if you want to work on your mobility, prep, get your body warmed up to start to exercise, all this stuff is great. And will it help loosen you up if you're stiff from sleeping at night, etc.? Absolutely. That's what this is designed for. That's why we do warm-ups, why we do mobility work, is to loosen up. It's not to get more flexible. That's a whole different ballgame. We work on our flexibility while lifting. That's how we increase our range of motion, is while lifting, under load, and greater ranges of motion. That's how you will build in better flexibility under load, under tension, and then working through these ranges. Don't believe me? Check out Dean Somerset, all of his research. Look at Stuart McGill, a lot of his research, a lot of great Canadians doing awesome work in the mobility and flexibility realm, and have proven, research project after research project, how static flexibility, static stretching does not work, and how dynamic mobility actually does. Check it out. All right, gang. Well, if I had to rate this, I would say good article, great suggestions, a couple of little modifications and strategies here and there. But Abby, I think you did a great job. Silver Sneakers, I've noticed that things are getting better. You're actually talking more about lifting some heavier loads. And, I get it that you don't want to just say, hey, blanket statement, let's go do this. But let's consider that across the board. I love the doctor's notes in the beginning and everything. We're on the right track. I'm happy to see things are going in the right direction. But remember, your boy out there, I'd be happy to write one of these for you. All you got to do is give me the word, give me the holler. I'd be happy to write an article for you that talks about the 5 strength training strategies for older adults, and dive into the research of each one of these, of why it's good to lift weights, 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 and oh yeah, we should be lifting weights, right, with this population. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding about the lifting weights. I'm just kidding. There'd be more than that one over and over again. The whole point is there would be research behind it, right, that gives a heavy emphasis on the idea of get your muscle strong, get your bones strong, get your stability and your mobility right so you don't fall down. Get plyometrically inclined by throwing implements or moving weight quickly so you're powerful and you can react quick. And have an ability to transfer and carry load back and forth, because that's basically in transit is where most of our falls do occur. And as we age, over the age of 50, 55, falls become our number one concern. No matter how capable, able, fit, great, strong, sexy, you are, doesn't matter. As we're getting over that age, no matter what you're doing, unless you're just pumping your body full of illegal drugs and whatnot, like there's no way to hang on to enough muscle mass and have enough bone density to outlive father time, or whatever you want to call it, that's in the aging process, that's going to eventually make your bones more susceptible to a fall. You take a 8-year-old and drop them off the playground, they'll bounce and warp, and it takes a lot to break an 8-year-old's bones. But you take a 68-year-old who's never lifted weights before, and you have them roll down on the grass, they can break their hip. Like literally can break their hip, falling on grass. There'd be nothing softer than maybe sand or water to land on that would kind of merge your fall than grass. And we've seen so many people have catastrophic injuries from that. Falling slowly. It's not like they wham, boom, eat shit, Like that's that. You go, oh my gosh, that person got hurt. But you watch someone kind of melt onto the ground and you're like, are they all right? Did they pass out? Like what's going on? And next thing you know, their femur's broken and you're like, how did that happen? Well, they hit the ground too hard. I saw it. It wasn't that hard. I know. That's how brittle their bones are. So if we're not doing that, that's why I say, like, this is the demographic, the silver sneaker demographic. We should just be hammering these people with the idea of lifting weights. No matter what, like whatever your deal is, I don't care what disease, what injury, what you have, there's a way for you to resistance train to make that better, number one, and make your optimal aging process, whatever it's gonna be, of your aging gracefully, whatever you consider that, better, because your body's gonna be stronger, more upright, a better gait, a better walking gait, etc., and reducing your risk of falls. At the belly of all of that, what does it funnel all the way down to? What's the key? Being strong. How do you get strong? You have to lift weights. Say it with me. Stop sarcopenia, end underloading. Stop sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass and function, and underloading using the little pink dumbbells. Lift heavier weights. You can do this. And if you don't know how, hire somebody that knows how to do it. They can take care of you. All right. There's my rant for the day. 30 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this. I love and appreciate all of you. If you have any comments, hit me up down below. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, send it out to your buddies. Let's share this information out to anybody might get it. Silver Sneakers, keep up the good work. You're coming around here. I appreciate it. AARP been kicking ass. CanFit Pro. There's so much great information coming out right now that's really encouraging aging bodies to get strong and take care of themselves here. I just want to keep that going. Shout out to Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Huberman, Dr. Andy Galpin, Dr. Lane Norton, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. There's a whole bunch of really good experts, doctors, all 5 of those doctors that are all out there telling people, hey, you got to lift weights if you want to age gracefully and age well and keep your body in good shape and optimize your golden years here. You got to get strong. The more doctors we have saying that, the better. So share that information, share these videos, and help spread the word. Until next time, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.